Welcome to Books Without Borders. Today we're going to be reviewing a book called Damaged Life: The Crisis of the Modern Psyche by Todd Sloan. Firstly, what do you see as the main psychological problems of modern life? Here are some of the most common types of responses to this question. 1. The pace of change. Things are changing too fast. You just get settled into a new way of doing things and then it changes again. 2. The decline of certainty and belief. It's hard to be certain about one's beliefs. There are so many different ways of seeing the world. 3. Unfulfilled expectations. Thinking along the lines of, this is not the way I intended my life to be. I thought that by now I would have achieved so much more. 4. The decay of morality. Nobody has morals anymore. Nobody cares for anybody else. People are just out for themselves. Why should I follow the rules? And 5. Meaninglessness. I have trouble finding meaning in what I do. Life seems empty. I'm bored. In Sloan's book, he explores why psychological problems are caused by modernization and also asks, how can we minimize its negative effects? Sloan doesn't deny that modernization has brought many materialistic benefits to us. However, he acknowledges we are yet constantly told how unhappy we are. When we think about things such as crime, divorce, suicide, depression and anxiety are all on the increase too. While the process of modernization has had a significant impact on the development of psychology as a subject, there is little, if any, dispute about it. Damaged Life is a compelling and forward-thinking examination of modernity's psychological impact. Todd Sloan elucidates the impact of seemingly insignificant matters on all of our lives, demonstrating how capitalism industrialization has influenced human experience as well as intimate relationships. He proposes an integrated theory of the self and society, situating personality development within socio-historical processes and daily life. The author introduces an alternative critical psychology that investigates our knowledge of and complex response to modernity. The ramifications of postmodern philosophy are addressed, and new solutions are presented to alleviate the contemporary self's vast suffering. Damaged Life, first published in 1996, is a compelling and progressive examination of modernity's psychological impact. Todd Sloan explores our complicated response to modernization by merging perspectives on personality development and socio-historical processes to produce an integrated philosophy of the self in society. He analyses the implications of postmodern theory for psychology and offers concrete solutions to the problem of widespread emotional distress. Sloan says his target audience is not just psychologists and related fields such as sociology and social policy, but should be read also by anybody interested in learning more about the self's predicament in modern society. I found this an easy read, and it provides a highly informative explanation about the place of critical psychology in postmodern society. I found Sloan's analysis of Habermas particularly informing, as he pulled together some important ideas about the ways in which individuals disconnect from community norms and thus face a complex world without appropriate support systems. One of my favourite parts of this book was at the very beginning, where Sloan talks about quality inspection with human infants. He says, and I quote, "At one end they are put on their conveyor belt. They come off the line at the other end when they are adults. There is no quality inspection. If there was, the majority of these products would have to be stamped damaged goods." Sloan goes into discussing how everyday conversation, one often hears that we're faced with one problem after another. He explains that part of this could be due to us now being almost fully dependent on technology. And with technology, problems often arise. However, I feel we had these problems in the past, just in a different way. For example, our servers are down today, so there is a delay in sending emails. There's a snow blizzard, and there's a delay in our post reaching the recipient. It's the same thing. However, the conclusion that Sloan makes is that the major problem appears to be that we are trying to do too much too fast. And here I think he's absolutely right. Because of technological advances, we are expected to achieve more in our 9-to-5 working day than at any other time, because technology is believed to make us work harder and faster. When personally, I don't think that's always the case. In a book by Cal Newport called Deep Work, we're told we only ever have the ability to complete 3 to 4 hours of deep work in a day. I think this is realistic. By the time you factor in phone calls, emails and meetings, we don't really have the attention span or focus to do more than 3 to 4 hours of deep work. Technology doesn't make us work any faster. I think it allows us to communicate faster, but not necessarily carry out the work faster. In Chapter 4, The Formation of the Psyche, Sloan talks about differences in structures and styles. He states that an individual's psychological structure and style tend to be manifested in interaction with others so consistently that even in non-scientific circles, we begin to think in terms of types of persons or personalities. He uses the example of the object rational schema of the aggressive person may be such that other people are experienced as withholding and uncaring. Whether they actually are so is of little importance. The aggressive person's interpretations of others lead him or her to forceful and domineering actions. I felt this was a really good point, however not in the sense that Sloan was possibly referring to. For example, when I'm on holiday in places such as France, Spain or Italy, I notice when people have conversations, it's about what's happening in the world or what's happening in their lives. They discuss events. I notice it doesn't have feelings attached. For example, they would say something along the lines of, I went and saw my friend yesterday for coffee and today I'm working. Whereas in the UK I find, people see a catch up with friends and family as often an opportunity to vent. The sentence would read something more along the lines of, I went and saw my friend yesterday for coffee. Oh, the weight has piled on. And today I have to work, but I'm just too stressed. Like what Sloan discusses in the beginning, with things just not working, this is what we do here. Personally, I'm not sure if it's part of the weather we have here in the UK as well, and it's generally better in other areas of Europe, but that's another story in itself. But the whole general day-to-day conversations and who we spend time with are also partly responsible for our mood and the way we have conversations. Tying in with what we just discussed, Sloan makes a very valid point to tie up the book. It is essential to look at the other side of the coin, to ask ourselves whether what we perceive as a problem is really a problem, or just seems to be a problem because we do not understand it. We tend to make a lot of assumptions as humans, and as that may be what gets us into those types of negative headspaces, by asking ourselves the questions, what if? When really we can't predict our future. Everything is constantly changing and evolving around us that we have no control over. Unfortunately, modern media has accustomed us to the sense of being constantly in crisis. We have a new media-fabricated crisis every few months. Sloan, with the help of a quote from Broughton, argues that it will take collective will, the consensual reinterpretation of our own suppressed needs, and the cautious, self-cautious reconstruction of science and society before the self can emerge in a more emancipated form in a more liberated world. In today's current situation with the pandemic, I couldn't agree more. In conclusion, the final thing I managed to take from this book was, in order to not live in despair that leads to depression, we must gather all of our thoughts, and also particularly as Sloane states, our anger, and focus our individual capacities and collective energies on the decolonisation of the life world and the construction of a humane social order.